Now and later than build, with all the latest where you are. It's the ITV Evening News.
Good evening. Tonight we pay a special Northwest tribute to Her Majesty the Queen, our longest reigning monarch who has died at the age of 96.
Good evening. The sense of loss today shows how much affection there was for Her Majesty here. Her links to this region stretch back many decades, with her first official engagements taking place even before she ascended to the throne.
There was never a shortage of people who turned out for the Queen in our region. And today, in a more sombre mood, many have been paying their respects. So let's cross live now to our correspondent Rob Smith, who is at St Anne's Square in Manchester for us.
Yes, a Forces veteran standing, giving one last emotional salute in front of these flowers today. Couldn't fail to stop anybody in their tracks. A veteran who drove almost 90 miles back to his hometown because he felt this was the place, the right and proper place to show Her Majesty just how much of a privilege it had been to serve her. So many of the people who weathered a torrential downpours to leave their tributes here today told me exactly the same word when I spoke to them afterwards, the word stunned. They said they were stunned that she was gone, stunned that an era in their lives was over. A couple from Hong Kong who managed to get out of there to start a new life in the UK just a few years ago told me how grateful they were to the Queen, how much they loved her, and what comfort they were taking from the belief that she is now reunited with the prince that she loved. And those themes of love and reunion borne out in so many of the messages that people told me they wrote in the books of condolence at the city's cathedral just down the road from here, and alongside those, messages of thanks for a life of service. My colleague Mel Barham has been looking at just how the Northwest has honoured the Queen.
At the top of the coppice in Accrington, the haunting sound of a lone piper marked the end of a reign and a life that has spanned most of our lives. Across the hills in Rochdale, as the sun set on an incomparable life, music once again the language of loss and tribute. This from the Whitworth and Vale Brass Band. This morning, as the sun rose on a new era, flags across the Northwest were lowered. And at midday, in villages, towns and cities across the region, the bells tolled.
It's very mixed emotions. Obviously great sadness for the Queen, who's such a figurehead for all of us, but it brings back some happy memories. And we rang the bell recently at the Platinum Jubilee, and we had 70 people ringing 70 minutes, raising about £600 for cancer charities. The Queen acknowledged us with a letter, which was rather nice.
Across the region, books of condolence were opened, an opportunity to give words to some of those feelings.
She's going to be missed. It's a sad day today.
I think she meant a lot to the people of Merseyside. She's been through so much, and she did her duties right until the very end.
In Manchester, St Anne's Square, the focal point for those leaving flowers. And that other constant in British life, the weather, didn't stop those who felt compelled to pay tribute. This couple travelling from North Wales to say their final farewell.
When we found out, we actually both stood up, had a hug and cried, because she's all we've ever known, and it's like losing your mum all over again.
Stunned really. It's just a blow to the whole nation.
I just said thank you for your wisdom and steadfastness. May you have eternal peace.
She being happy in the heaven and meet Prince Philip's again. So happy together. So no worries anymore.
We love her.
Yeah.
And all day, cherished memories were shared.
I got to talk to her, and I was rambling about Anthony, and the lasting effect was when she reached out to me with concern, and what was going through my head, she's not wearing gloves, what do I do? And she sort of beckoned that it was all right, and she reached out her hand to me.
In Burnley at Friday prayers, they too were reflecting.
The pain of the royal family is our pain, so we are, sharing this pain, and it's being echoed across the community.
In Parliament today, the Chorley MP and Speaker led dozens of tributes and had his own to add.
She was very kind to me when I first became the Speaker. My first event was Remembrance Sunday, and straight away she put me at ease. I felt I had to say something. Your Majesty, I'm the new Speaker. I know exactly who you are. You don't need to worry. And she was so kind.
And as many today grappled with the news, the hardest of lessons at this primary in Swinton.
It might be a really sad day, but what I would like all of you to do is think about lots of fantastic things that the Queen did.
I felt sad because she was a very nice person.
She looked after the whole entire world, and I love her.
She helped the world a lot, and she's special for everyone.
From every corner of our region, there were reminders of the enormity of this historic moment, that thread that wove its way through all of our lives, now unravelled. Mel Barham, ITV News.
Well, we're joined now by the Bishop of Manchester, the Right Reverend David Walker, and by Saeed Atcher from Bolton, the Deputy Lord Lieutenant of Greater Manchester.
So, Bishop, first of all, why do you think people feel this deep affection and connection to the Queen?
Well, she has been there pretty well all of our lives. I mean, I'm 65. She's been on the throne throughout my life. She's always been there on the postage stamps, on the coins, on the notes. Somebody you see on the television, here in those memorable Christmas broadcasts. And so this has been a constant, a thing that we've all shared together as a nation and more widely as a Commonwealth. And now, of course, that's gone.
And we saw her, of course, as a young girl right through to becoming a widow.
Indeed, yes, that plucky teenager during the Second World War who insisted on training to be a mechanic. And that's the same woman she didn't flee to Canada when the opportunity was given to her. She stayed in the UK with her people, even as a princess. And that's that same woman who underwent the same COVID deprivations as the rest of us, insisting that there should be no exception to her when it was His Royal Highness's funeral.
And her faith was very important to her.
It was, and I think increasingly over the years she became more confident in being able to talk about how her faith impacted on her life. Her faith was not just a private thing to do in the chapel at Windsor or Balmoral. It was something that impacted on everything she was. And she did that in a way that was inclusive. So if she had a particular faith, it happens with the faith I share as a member of the Church of England, but she did it in a way that authenticated everybody's faith, that made everybody feel as a person of faith, or even with no faith, that the values, the things that we hold most dear, really are important, and we should live our lives according to them.
Saeed, you're one of the youngest ever recipients of an MBE for your charity work with young people. What do you think Her Majesty meant to young people?
I think she just was somebody who embodied what service means, and the royal family do that amazingly, and that's why I have always been involved in volunteering and social action, and that's what I think young people will take and will continue, and it's the best thing I think that we can do is to honour Her late Majesty, is to continue with that service to our communities and to continue making a difference in the world as she did.
And as a Deputy Lord Lieutenant, you were chosen to represent the monarch in the region. What can you tell us about that? What was that like?
So I became the youngest ever Deputy Lieutenant in history, which is a really bizarre thing to think of. I was 22 when I was appointed, and I joined colleagues across Greater Manchester in the county where I am appointed in representing the Lord Lieutenant and in turn Her Majesty and now His Majesty, and to shake the hands of people who are new to our country at citizenship ceremonies, for example, and to lay a wreath on behalf of the Sovereign is a duty that is is just so important, and a duty that I never want to get wrong, and I want to continue to serve as long as I can.
OK, thank you both for now. We will be speaking to you again in a few moments' time.
Yes,
thank you.
so much to talk about. Thank you for joining us. Well, so many tributes coming in, so let's hear more of them, and wonderful memories too, stretching back over those years.
Yeah, it's been a day for much personal reflection, especially for those who met the Queen, as Paul Crone now reports.
Greeted by the Lord Lieutenant, Lord Derby, Princess Elizabeth arrives in Manchester for one of the most colourful spectacles seen in the city for years.
Even before she became Queen, a young Princess Elizabeth embarked on what would become a special relationship with the North West and its people. She was there during the good times and the bad times.
Very scary. Very wicked.
But whenever she visited the region, the Queen left an everlasting imprint on those she met.
This is something that we will tell our great-great-grandchildren. We were there.
In 2012, the Queen shook hands with former IRA commander Martin McGuinness, a defining moment in the Northern Ireland peace process and a gesture which was of particular interest to Colin and Wendy Parry, whose 12-year-old son Tim died in the IRA's Warrington bomb in 1993.
Huge for me and for many people who were fiercely hopeful the peace process would not collapse, and there were many times down the years where you thought this isn't going to hold. And I think her meeting Martin, not just meeting him but shaking hands, and the two of them appearing to be comfortable with each other, was a monumentally important moment. If you think what the Queen had lost, a member of her own family, with Lord Mountbatten, you know, she had reasons for maybe feeling she didn't really want to do it. Now, whether the government pressed her, who knows? But I suspect if she'd dug her heels in, it wouldn't have happened.
At the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games in Manchester in 2002, the Queen broke with protocol by walking towards David Beckham and Francis House Children's Hospice fundraiser, Kirsty Howard. Standing just a few feet away on the night was broadcaster Susie Mathis, who worked tirelessly for the charity.
There was a wonderful connection between Kirsty and our Queen. And it was quite beautiful, actually, and I could see there was a lot of love and care in her eyes for our little girl. I think the Queen made an instant connection with people. She obviously would have known that anybody would be thrilled to meet her, but she always put people at their ease, and she certainly did with Kirsty.
A sergeant with the 1st Battalion, the Duke of Lancaster's regiment, Rick Clement from Blackpool, lost both legs serving in Afghanistan in 2010 after stepping on a Taliban landmine. He met the Queen at the National Arboretum on the 17th of May 2016.
She spent so much time chatting with each individual. She was asking sort of when I was injured and what I get up to since I was injured and things like that, and just really nice to talk to and very approachable. It's something I'll remember for the rest of my life. Being in the military and being a proud soldier, the royal family kind of come hand in hand with that, and I know it's sort of said we serve Queen and country, but for myself that's part of it.
Back in 2008, Manchester anti-gun and gang campaigner Dr Erin Mabel received her MBE from the Queen.
When it was my turn and I approached the Queen and she had my the MBE ready to pin on me, and she said, "Oh, don't you look exquisite?" And I thought, do I say yes, ma'am? And I thought, I can't say, because I mean, it's a bit, you can't go, "Oh, yes, ma'am, I look exquisite." So I didn't actually say anything. I just kind of like went, and she went, "Oh, you look magnificent." She said, "Do you mind if I pin this on your outfit?" And I was like, you know, and then I thought to myself really quick, I thought, I can't say yes, ma'am, because then you're saying yes, that you do mind. So I just went, go ahead, you know. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm getting it wrong. I didn't say yes, ma'am.
The Queen's sense of humour sometimes shone through as the cameras were running. When comic genius and Isle of Man resident Norman Wisdom was knighted, Her Majesty didn't miss Norman's comedy trip. And at the Royal Variety performance at the Winter Gardens in Blackpool in 2009, she was happy for the comedy legend Peter Kay to poke a little fun in her direction.
I never thought I'd see the day me Nan and Her Majesty side by side,
thick as thieves, yeah. They'll be swapping fudge about interval. Hey, she might be in her 80s. She still pulls a wheelie bin out every Tuesday night. Just wish my nana do the same. Thank you.
Blackpool Pleasure Beach Managing Director Amanda Thompson was fortunate to meet Her Majesty on several occasions.
I will most definitely miss the Queen because she's been the guiding light for all of us. Certainly for me, for my whole life. And she's always been there for everyone. And she's always shown us all the way through good times and bad times. And I think she's helped so many people. I think we're lucky in England to have a royal family. And I think that the Queen really did an excellent job.
And throughout her reign, wherever she went in the region and whoever she met, it was a moment people would always remember and treasure, perhaps even more so today.
Beautiful, lovely in a nice pale pink dress.
A bit overwhelmed with it all, to be quite honest with you.
It's good.
Yeah, she looked very happy.
I've never seen her before in my life. So I was really happy she came and I could see her.
We enjoyed it, so she must have enjoyed it too. I could hug her. I don't think I should, but I should.
She was so posh and she had pretty clothes.
I think she's just wonderful.
She might have a crown on or she might have a hat on and her gloves. And she might go like this to me. And I'll be like...
Paul Crone, ITV News.
Yeah, some wonderful reflections there. OK, let's bring back Saeed Atjanavia, Deputy Lord Lieutenant for Greater Manchester. Saeed, many years from now, as we reflect on this incredible period of our history, what will you be saying to your kids, your grandkids about the reign of Queen Elizabeth II?
I think I'll just be pushing that notion of wanting to serve your community, describing how she was steadfast in that, how she always believed in education, and she was a very intelligent woman and brought, I think, some stability to the world, and that constance that was just so important, especially over the past few years when, you know, times have been difficult and challenging. The Queen has been all the way through it.
Yeah, there will be some people who perhaps may not be so supportive of the monarchy, may not be so supportive of the royal family. What would your message to them be?
I think just remembering that this is somebody's mother, this is somebody's grandmother, and a lot of us across the country feel a very deep connection to the royal family, and just remembering that we're all grieving together and that we're all united in wanting the best for our country, and that's why I think it's important that we all unite against King Charles III.
Bishop, you were nodding there. I mean, this is hard to believe because when she came here on her last visit, only last summer, she looked so incredibly well, didn't she?
She was well, yes.
Yes.
And it was one of her first trips out of Windsor Castle after being locked down there for so long, and she just seemed so delighted to have come up to Manchester and to visit places that she'd been to before, as well as new ones, and to thank volunteers from across the region who'd worked so hard during COVID, as well as to help celebrate the 600th anniversary of our cathedral.
And did you see that as a unifying moment?
Yes, yes. I think she was, throughout COVID in particular, I think she was a unifying character. She was going through the same deprivations as the rest of us, and I think that gave all of us a little bit more strength, a bit more sense that, well, she's in it with us and we're in it with her and we're in it together. And I do hope that we can take from this a message of being together, that we are one nation, one Commonwealth, one people, and that can be our legacy to her, to be a bit more united than perhaps we've sometimes been in the recent past.
And obviously we heard from King Charles then, talking about the importance of uniting people of all faiths and how much things changed in the reign of his mother. Did that hit a nerve with you too?
Well, things have changed hugely, and I think when it comes to future ceremonies, again, we'll see how that is expressed. And the Queen, the way in which she'd moulded with the times. You could never imagine 70 years ago a monarch doing that stunt with Paddington Bear on the
It was absolutely wonderful. Everyone loved that, didn't they? Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing your memories. Very much appreciate that. Well, we have been hearing earlier about how the Queen showed her support for the people of Manchester after the arena bombing 5 years ago.
Yeah, but many of us also remember another moving occasion 21 years earlier when Her Majesty came to offer comfort after the city was targeted by an IRA bomb and more than 200 people were injured. Amy Welch looks back at how much those visits meant.
During the IRA blast in June,
meeting Her Majesty was a moment John and Margaret say they'll never forget.
That is absolute lovely.
Your hair was red then? Immediately she just puts you so much, she just knocks all the pomp out of it. You know, she puts you so much at your ease.
She came to see a city still recovering after an IRA bomb which left Manchester broken. Dog handler John Scanlon was one of the first police officers to arrive at the scene. Told he'd meet the Queen months later, he was given extra training in royal etiquette.
We had to wear gloves, which we did mostly anyway, to shake her hand, to address her as Your Majesty first, then ma'am. Not ma'am, it's ma'am.
When the big day arrived, John's wife was one of many well-wishers hoping for a glimpse of royalty.
So we stood there and the car, we could hear the cheering and the car, and it stopped here. It stopped right in front of us. And she got out the car in this purple outfit, and my sister-in-law and I just went, "Good morning, Your Majesty," and curtsied.
Manchester had been reduced to rubble, but the timing of this royal visit really raised its spirits.
She was coming to see us and what was left of Manchester city centre, and for the people of Manchester. That's why she was coming. And it was brilliant. I was well made up.
To so many, Her Majesty was a beacon of hope back then. And when another bomber claimed the lives of 22 people in May 2017, she returned to the city to show that same compassion. 59 people were seriously injured in the arena attack, and the royal visit to Manchester Children's Hospital came as a complete surprise. The Queen met staff who'd worked tirelessly to treat those caught up in the blast, and children who'd survived but seen things no one ever should.
Good morning. So this is Millie. Hello. Yes.
So Millie, your legs got hurt, didn't they?
Yeah.
Millie Robson from County Durham suffered shrapnel injuries.
And you had enjoyed the concert, presumably?
Yeah, it was really good.
Was it?
Yeah. I got to meet her before the concert as well. She was lovely.
I was just in complete shock, really. I was just really excited to tell my grandma. I made sure that I managed to wash my hair, and then I put on my Ariana t-shirt as well. And I just made sure I didn't look like a complete mess when she came. She was exactly what I expected her to be, just posh, small, and just polite. But yeah, she was really nice.
Very wicked.
Her Majesty described the attack as wicked, but praised the way people had come together.
It's very interesting how everybody has united, haven't they? Yeah.
It's been amazing, really.
I described that hospital visit as a privilege because the patients I met were an example to us all.
In her Christmas Day speech, she reflected on the powerful identity shown by Manchester in the face of terror. And for a few moments at least, her visit here lifted the mood.
They were physically tired because they'd been working so hard, but they were emotionally exhausted as well. And then the Queen came and you could feel the hospital lift.
In times of darkness, Her Majesty helped Manchester see the light. And now that she's waved her final goodbye, she will be missed. Amy Welch, ITV News.
Well, someone else with fond memories of Her Majesty is the man who became known to us all as The Voice, the Salford-born tenor Russell Watson.
Yeah, he came to the world's attention more than 20 years ago singing God Save the Queen at the Challenge Cup final at Wembley Stadium.
In the years that followed, he had a number of encounters with the Queen.
I caught up with him a bit earlier at his home in Cheshire as he reflected on his time with Her Majesty.
Yeah, it's a strange feeling. I had the pleasure and the honour to meet Her Majesty on quite a few occasions over the period of my career, and it's just left a little bit of an empty feeling. The world seems like it's lost a little bit of spark today.
And what can you tell us about the first time that you met Her Majesty?
Oh goodness me, that would have been way back in, I think it was 2001, and that would have been at my first ever Royal Variety performance. And I remember having this feeling and sense of maybe not nervousness but trepidation about the fact that I was, for the first time in my life and career, singing in front of Her Majesty the Queen. And you think that over the years that might dissipate, but it never goes away. The last time I sung for her actually was at Dame Vera Lynn's 100th birthday. So that would have been, 20 years after I first sang for her. And I was just as nervous then.
You came to prominence singing God Save the Queen all those many years ago.
Mm.
Can you just tell me about that relationship that you developed with Her Majesty?
I see her as like the nation's grandmother, and I think a lot of people see her like that. I grew up with her. I remember that, at the point probably in my life back when, if you remember, you won't remember, you're way too young, the Silver Jubilee, which was a massive event when I was a kid. Growing up in Salford, there was street parties everywhere. So many of us have grown up with the Queen. We now view her, or we viewed her, as this figure, this grandmother-like figure that kind of watched over the nation, who had this very personal touch with everybody that she met. She always had a smile for everybody, yet you could see that there was a side to her, a more stoic side to her, where she wasn't for any messing either.
How will you remember her now?
I don't actually think I've come to terms with the fact that she's gone yet. Well, so many people, I think, experience different circumstances and situations. I mean, for instance, like, the two rainbows over the top of Buckingham Palace. How often does that happen? I was outside, and there's normally something always going on here. We live up on the tops, and it's a farm, and it gets quite breezy, and there's always noise. You can hear the chickens in the background, or the horses whinnying and the sheep baying. And there was this one moment yesterday, I was sat outside, and everything literally just stopped. Everything just stopped. The wind stopped blowing. There wasn't a tree whistling in the wind, nothing. It was just dead silence. And at that specific moment, I literally thought, she's gone. And it's just a bizarre feeling.
And a few memories from you before we go.
Yeah, this is a lovely one from Sue Granger. She says, I was working as a Saturday girl in St John's Market in the 1980s. I was about 15 or 16 when she visited Liverpool. That's me in the background. You can see her in the white hat. She shook my hand just after this, and I love her big smile on this photo.
This one from Julie Lawson, who's a fundraiser from Crosby. She says, I was so privileged and proud to have been presented to Her Majesty on the 8th of July 2021 at Manchester Cathedral.
Great pictures, thank you. And that brings to an end this Granada Reports, as our region continues to pay its tributes to Queen Elizabeth II after such a remarkable life devoted to public service.
Yeah, this is the scene in Blackpool where there are no illuminations tonight. Instead, the famous tower has been turned red, white and blue as a tribute to the Queen.
Yeah, lovely to see those shots in Blackpool. Many thanks to everyone who has taken the trouble to share a memory of the Queen with us. Please keep sharing those with us, and we'll have more tributes in our next bulletin at 11 tonight. For now, good night.
Good night.
Hello there. Well, the low pressure that has been with us all week is stubbornly hanging in there a little bit longer, but things are settling down for the weekend. We've had a warning of thunderstorms in force for parts of Greater Manchester and Cheshire, which has just dropped off. But of course, there could still be some surface water on the roads, which could cause travel disruptions. So do be aware of that. For the next few hours, though, any of the showers do tend to fade away, things drying up, lighter northeasterly winds than we've had today. It was quite breezy over the tops of the Pennines and temperatures holding up into the mid-double digits there. Quite a lot of cloud cover around, and that remains in force tomorrow, particularly down the spine of the Pennines. There could be 1 or 2 showers around tomorrow, but I think that cloud is going to cap them off and also prevent them from being too heavy or too thundery. Tops around 20 Celsius, 68 Fahrenheit, so mostly settled for Saturday and Sunday. Some glimmers of sunshine around on Sunday and temperatures actually lifting slightly as well. Then very wet, rain crossing from the west overnight into Monday. Could be 100 millimetres of rain across parts of the Lake District and also Cumbria. That's it. Bye-bye.
The King's speech. Charles III addresses the nation for the first time.
As the Queen herself did with such unswerving devotion, I too now solemnly pledge myself, throughout the remaining time God grants me, to uphold the constitutional principles at the heart of our nation.
Tonight, at a service at St Paul's Cathedral, the first official rendition of the national anthem under the reign of King Charles III. We are at Buckingham Palace this evening, where the King spoke as Britain began its period of royal mourning. Across the country, bells tolled in memory of Queen Elizabeth II, while guns salutes were sounded around the world. In the House of Commons, a minute's silence with tributes spanning the political divide. The new king announced Prince William will be the new Prince of Wales, and Catherine, the first Princess of Wales since Diana. And in a day of memorable moments, a kiss for the king.
We share hands, and I said, "May I kiss you?" He said, "Well, yes." That's it.
What was it like to kiss a king?
Oh my God! Oh, I nearly fell.
From Buckingham Palace, this is the ITV Evening News with Mary Nightingale.
Good evening from Buckingham Palace, from where the new king tonight addressed the nation and paid an emotional tribute to his darling mama, the Queen. King Charles described her as an inspiration. He said her devotion to the country and the Commonwealth had never wavered.